the spiritual growth process. Now this is really important information because you want to know when what's happening. First of all, I want to say you should always see your spiritual growth. Have you ever seen like the stock market, like if a stock's going up, it nothing ever goes up like this. It's like this. It goes up, then it goes down, this, it goes down. But you can see how the trajectory is this way, all the way up and to the right. But in that, there's the ups and then there's the, and those, both the ups and the downs are important. They are important. Very, very important. You wouldn't be able to stand just a straight line up, right? The trajectory is upwards, but you're going to have some downs and up, and that's how the process is supposed to be. So some of you might be, oh man, I was up there, and all of a sudden I'm kind of down. Just stop. Sometimes there are many reasons. The reason why you go up, of course, is because you spiritually grow, you learn, you put things into action, and you walk on your path, and that sets you a trajectory upward. And then there's the down. Why do they happen? And in the down, you can sometimes feel stuck. You could sometimes, you go like, oh my God. You can go back and, something that you dealt with, a childhood issue, so-called abandonment, so-called whatever it is, right? And you go down and it's because there's something you need to address there, right? And it could also be you go back there because that, what we call a very negative thing, has behind it a gift. So you got a little piece of that gift, and then you drop back. Now, that's right. I said something like what we experience in what we would call the negative has behind it a gift. So you go back and you see it again. And so maybe it's two things. It's like an onion, and it's in many, many layers. So you go back down to deal with that next layer of it. So this is also important for you to know that when you are working on yourself and suddenly you feel like you're going back to the same thing that you worked on before, it's not. It's in a different layer. And it's an important part of your progress. It isn't that you didn't do the job properly the first time and all of this. That could be true, but most of the time it's not. It's because you're dealing with another layer of that same emotional issue experience that needs to be released. But it feels like the first one. They feel the same. And they do because it's the same energy. So you just don't have any judgments. You just deal with it then. Right? So you might be going down to deal with something like that. So you deal with it. And you do whatever you need to do. And if you've done it properly, meaning you have cleared up the connection between you and have a wonderful relationship with your higher self. You have a wonderful relationship with your ancestors. You have a wonderful relationship with your inner child. That's when it becomes easy because it'll be clear because you can ask and you'll get an answer. And it'll be clear as to why you have the dip. So you work on that dip and then you have the ingredients for your next expansion, your next trajectory up. And it just keeps happening like that. And every time you go up, enjoy the ups and just know, hey, I'm spiritually expanding. And when you have a down, it's also spiritual expansion because you're going to get something so that you can project up again. So the spiritual growth process is like this. And so if you are in one of these processes where you're like here and it doesn't seem to be going back up, just keep looking. and then ask, what do I need to do? Maybe that down process is there for you to just take a break, relax, chill out, spend time with yourself, do nice things for yourself. Just take a breath of fresh air and stop worrying about expansion, all that, because you may need that for the next level. So if your ancestor says, just chill, take a break. Don't worry about it. Your higher self, he said, okay, I'll still take a break. Let me know, because I don't want to be here too long. If you tell me it's time and I somehow don't hear or don't listen, please bring it to me in a way that I will listen, know, understand, and be able to take action. Communicate with them in just that way. You have to let them know. Just like you would a friend, because that's what they are. That's what they are. They are you and within you all at the same time. One of my favorite sayings, those of you who come here all the time, know I say it all the time. Because it's so important for you to know. Because we can't have any kind of belief of separation between you and any aspect of yourself. So they are you and within you at the same time. Tells you what the relationship is like, but does not allow for any separation. Because if something is you and within you at the same time, there's no separation. But you still get the point of the message. Yeah, it can be overwhelming sometimes. And Spirit knows that. So if you take a little downtime, it's actually a part of the process. We can't see it's a part of the process, but you see, it's an old belief system that we think we should just be and not taking a break because we're bringing that from the false reality. A 40-hour work week that's actually a 65-hour work week. I work so hard. Spiritual, it's about doing the thing that you need to do. Right? And sometimes there's some hard work involved with that. But that's not what the spiritual process is about. We don't want to bring that old belief about how hard we need to work for things to happen. As a matter of fact, we must get away from that. Because consciousness, the name of the game is consciousness. We say spirituality, but it's consciousness. And consciousness travels on the path of awareness, not the path of hard work. Consciousness travels on the path of awareness. We become more aware, and the vessel expands for more consciousness. And the more consciousness you bring in on the path, the more expanded you become. And the higher the level of consciousness, then you become a much more highly conscious being. And then it reflects and reverberates into the reality. See, because the name of the game on planet Earth is to raise the quality of our consciousness. Because everything is consciousness. Everything. Getting into a bar fight is consciousness. It's just piss poor. You're resonating with that kind of stuff. It's low consciousness. You want to raise the consciousness within you. And in so doing, you raise the consciousness on the planet. Because that's the name of the game. Raise the consciousness of the planet so that we as a species can evolve into the next level. And out of this one, especially this one, that feeds on our pain and suffering. Now, you don't have to wait. You can personally evolve above that, the pain and suffering part. You don't have to wait for everybody to get on board. You can do that for yourself. Because that's your prerogative and your choice. No one else can stand in the way. Of course, here you will have someone else stand in the way, of course. Because some people only exist to keep your consciousness low. That's their entire existence. And they're usually a part of your family or closest relations and friends. Because that's the only way a being like that could be successful in keeping your consciousness low, if they're real close. So do not be afraid to ditch those who are playing that role, and ditch them quickly, because that's the only reason why they exist. You must see it that way. And they will exist and be placed there in a position where it's hard for you to move them out because of belief systems that have been placed within you. In my earth family, I only know of maybe 3 people out of hundreds that are actually a part of my true family. They're part of the earth family, but they're really not a part of, in the real sense, in the spiritual sense or conscious sense. They're just part of the earth family. Window dressing. So you see, that's a part of the process. So when you have the proper foundation, and I will forever emphasize this foundation, it'll be part of just about every time I speak, I will talk about this. I noticed that my approach is very, very rare, even though you might think it shouldn't be, because I'm always talking about you, what's within you, and never pointing you outside of that. Never. Never. When I'm talking about the higher mind and all of that, I'm not talking about anything different out of others. When I'm talking about you, you're the higher mind as well. When I talk about you, the limited self, the finite self, the body, the emotions, the mind, they're not you, but they belong to you. So it's still about you. Your inner child, you. Ancestors, you. It's all about you. Because it's always about you. No matter what they're talking about, it's always about you. When they talk about the gods and what they can do and all of that, they're only talking about an aspect of you that they have exported and decided to have amnesia about. So they can feel it's something else they can put responsibility onto. You're the one. It's always about you. Negative, positive, good, bad, ugly. It can only be. That's why. It can only be about you. So I just don't beat around the bush. I just get straight to you. Right? Consciousness? The transformation of the planet? How's it going to happen? I think someone asked about solar flashes and all this. Some people say the photon belt of the great central sun. And that is true. Every 26,000 years it shines upon the planet and consciousness grows. And that's also true. But the consciousness that is flowing onto this planet can only come here through you and me. Through your dreams, through your awakening, through the increase of your awareness, through your dreams, through your visions, through your healing, through your words. That's how it's going to transform. If you don't believe me, just look around at how many beings want your attention. Whether they be extraterrestrial calling themselves gods, or whether they be gods, or whether they be people, whether they be spirits, government, churches, media, everything. What is it about? It's about you. So why mess around and beat around the bush? Just go straight to the source that everyone's talking and beating around the bush about. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So again, in the spiritual growth process, you'll have certain experiences and you're wondering why you're having them. Always go back to the source. And the way you get your answers so that you can make it to the next level can be in all kinds of ways. Maybe you just get the answer straight away from yourself. Maybe it's the kind of answer that needs to come from the mouth of another human being. No matter where the answers seem to come from, always know that it must start here. So when you ask a question and you don't know, and you ask it, if it has some emotional power behind it, oomph, meaning you gotta know, it sits on your mind heavily, work is going to be done. When you lay that head to rest at night, the subconscious mind and all aspects of you get together and poof, messengers go out. And then you see the answer billboard down the street as you're driving. Somebody's just yelling something and it's exactly about the thing you asked about to somebody else. You're scrolling through TikTok and there it is. Papa Guru's talking about it. Or somebody else. And you think, oh, what a coincidence. I was just asking about this the other day. It's not a coincidence. It's a synchronicity. This is how the answers come. They come in all kinds of ways. You ask and expect the answers and then be mindfully aware so that when they show up, you can see them. So you can see them. And sometimes you get to the point where you have one of those dips and it's something you have to work on. And the dip lasts a little bit longer than you might think it should because you need integration time. I want to get to this point because this is a very important part of the spiritual growth process. When you work on yourself, because that's the catalyst. When you work on yourself, you must give yourself integration time. What is that? Time for the body, emotions, and the mind. Those are the ones that need it. Your higher self don't need it. Your ancestors don't need it. You need it. Your mind, and I'm mentioning what particularly needs it. The body, the mind, and the emotions need you to chill out and not do anything else. Usually for a week and a half to 2 weeks. Thereabout. Depends on the intensity. And then you can do things like soothe with, working with water and taking time out and sleeping. The most important thing in integration is to sleep. Everything else is a bonus. Salt baths. Getting into nature. Nature could be in your back. If you got a backyard, you got nature. You don't have to run to find nature. It's everywhere. You are also nature. Hold a tree. Put your foot in the ground. And just let the body connect to the earth where it came from. Hold on to a tree 10, 15 minutes. Listen for the calm, soothing voice of your ancestors and your higher self. Talk to the body. Talk to the emotions. Talk to the mind. How are you doing today? I know we went through some healing yesterday, and you're probably a little tired and sore. We're going to take the time to make sure you heal and make sure the rewiring that has to happen. Because every time you work on yourself and you purge yourself, thank you so much for the 40K, you guys. I told you I was going to hold you back. And you release things that you get rid of, you feel lighter. The mind in particular has to then reorganize, rewire for the new part. It is in that organization and rewiring that sets you up for the next, making you lighter. Because sometimes to get on those ups, you have to become lighter. You have to get rid of the things that weigh you down, the heavy emotions that weigh you down. So it's okay. You give yourself integration time. And during that time, you write. That's something you do. You write. And you introspect. And you have, this is when you can become introspective. You use that time to look within and really focus on yourself. And then while you're doing that, you're speaking to the body. You're letting every cell know, just talking, that you are acknowledging what is happening and that it's okay. You do that. Until the next time you go, okay, we're ready. We got to do another thing together. And then your body, your emotion, they'll respond. Because they know that if they go through it, you're going to make sure that they have time to do what they need to do. You're not running from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And some of you might go on some of these healing retreats where you do an activation, then you do a big healing, then you do another thing, and by the third day, you're sick and tired of it all. It's not you. It's just your mind and your body go, okay, this is enough. I see some places where one day they have a ayahuasca ceremony. Then the next day they want to have a mushroom ceremony. And then the next day they want to have something else. That's too much. They have not educated themselves on what the body, the mind, emotion needs in order to settle in all those changes properly. For the brain and the mind to rewire. Because when you do a psilocybin, the rewiring, it's like a mass rewiring that happens even physically in the brain. You will think differently. Your brain will be expanded. Part of the growth in the physical body of a human being, one of the things responsible for that is psilocybin in particular. Psychedelics help to grow and expand the brain. And that's why they can help us and will help us in raising our consciousness. That's right. Psychedelics. So if it's something that's safe, by the way, I said the word, which is anyway, hope we don't get cut off. But one of the ways that you will expand is through that. Oh, early today I said the wind blows just for me. OMG, the wind really started blowing even more. Yeah, because if you notice that we're starting to see a lot of things now where even animals are responding to human beings a little differently. Like I'm starting to see on a regular basis, it's not the same story. Like a bear will come out of the woods and ask a person to help them because the little bear cub is maybe stuck somewhere. Elephants, the other day a jaguar, wild jaguar, and the man was a hunter, but he noticed he didn't want to shoot the jaguar because it wasn't really. I guess he was very knowledgeable, and it wasn't acting in a way that was aggressive, and it was like standing off and walking back and then coming back and not stalking or anything. So he followed it, and as soon as it started following, it started walking. So he kept following it, and then he got to a path where the mother was taking him to rescue her baby, her cub, because she couldn't get it out of a rough patch. So he slowly walked, and the jaguar kind of kept her distance and she saw that, and she led him to that, and he freed the jaguar, put it down, and ran to the mother, and the mother walked away, looked back, and walked away with the cub. And this is starting to happen. You noticed this popular thing that was very popular on TikTok, where people were asking a tree to read. I'm sure some of you have seen this, right? Where it got really popular on TikTok for a while. I haven't seen it in a while. Where people were asking the limb of a tree to come down and reach their finger, and everybody so many people did a video on it, that the tree responded. So in my ancestral course, I did the exercise. But what I did to show people that it was true is I put my finger on a stick, on a fulcrum, where there's no way I could move my finger. People could see that my finger was on something, and if it moved off of it, they could see. And I demonstrated. I took a broomstick or something, where I put my finger down and I waited, and you could see the tree leaf come down to touch my hand, and you could also see that my hand never moved because it was on something where you could judge movement. I put my hand on a stick so people could see, and the tree responded. You are now in a position where you can talk to the elements, talk to nature, and you will get a response that you can actually have evidence for with the regular 5 senses that you have. The other day, Spirit told me just look in the sun for a little bit. And I said, okay, I'm going to wait till, near half hour before sunset. I said, okay. I go out and it's cloudy. The sun is behind all these clouds. So I gently talked to the clouds, and Spirit said, just use your finger. And I simply took my fingers and created a space. Moved the clouds away. People call this cloud busting. It's actually a thing. And I moved the clouds away just long enough for me to do my little sun gazing. And then 5 minutes, I did for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, I just... and the clouds came back. The more conscious you are, the more nature responds to you. Because, again, build a relationship with it. All the time. So here's another thing about spiritual growth that I want to tell you guys about. Is when you grow at a rapid level, you start outpacing the people around you. And so often you find that, and this is something that I speak to someone, Energy Flow and I were working with today, and we're going through it. This individual is just expanding so quickly. And I'm not saying that, well, part of it is, of course, my contribution to it, But a lot of it is that this person does the work. He's doing the stuff. And so when you're in that way and you have the right person with you, you just... And one of the things he's experiencing is that when he goes into the world to speak to other people, he finds it a little bit hard to... Some of the words don't come out as smoothly as they once did before. And it's part of the integration process. It's also that you're at a level where you have to climb down. It's not about being better than anybody else or anything of that nature. Where you have to come down because you cannot communicate from here, or otherwise it'll go right over the heads of these people. So you have to come down to the level to speak to them. And it's not a superiority thing. It's an intelligence thing. You cannot, and I know this as a teacher and communicator and speaker, you must know your audience. You can't show up and be down here or up here. It is the communicator's job to know where the audience is and to be right there, and not expect the audience to be where they're, or where they want the audience to be. It is the communicator's job to be here. And so oftentimes when you're doing, and some of you may have experienced this, you have to bring it down a level to communicate. Now, I want you to know this. When you're doing that, it's normal. Okay? It's not something that, the only thing that you don't want to do when you come down, the reason's important. You don't want to come down because you want to please somebody, or you want to bend so that you don't offend anybody, and you do it because of people pleasing, or because you're bending your back so that you can not be noticed and you're a little afraid. You don't want to climb that ladder down for that reason. You climb the ladder down for the reason so that you can have rapport with people. That's totally okay. And then you climb back up. And then you come back. And so that's part of the process. Don't do it to please people or to bend to what they think you should be like. Because if what you have become forces them to look into themselves, that's not your problem. That's not your problem. Okay, you're here to do your thing. You're not here for other people's things. You're here for your thing. And we need people like you to be doing your thing, because too many others who are doing their thing is not helping that many others. So we need people like you. Your energy needs to be dominant. Not dominant over other people, but dominant in that it can be seen, and so that it can transform for the better. For the better. Let's get right into our contemplation. Our contemplation, guided contemplation. And if this is your first time here with doing this, it's okay. It's totally all right. We do this together, and I guide you through the whole thing. You don't need to know or have any kind of special qualification. Thank you. This is the topic I came up with because I thought, people spiritually growing, and this is important to know so that you can know where you're at, and even more importantly, when you think something is going on that is a little off. No, it's not. It's you're going through the process and it's happening properly. It's like this, and it's okay.